Lads, how are we? We have to be honest. We've started to record this podcast before. Tank's got some man attacking his Wi-Fi wires with the hedge cutter outside. Jimmy, I don't know what happened to yours. You disappeared for a second there, but we're all here. Jimmy and Tank, how are you both?
Good, mate. Good.
Good.
Take two.
You've never
Tank, your
sounded
wife all right?
Why? Yeah, she's good, mate. She's good. But if she carries on cutting them trees down, she's getting it.
Yeah, for those listening, Tank just texted us there and told us that your wife had crashed, but I think you meant to say that your Wi-Fi had crashed. Lads, it's been a couple of weeks. Jimmy, you've been away traveling the world with your son's footy team in Holland. Yep. How was the trip, mate? You come back with some silverware?
Yeah, came back with the trophy, mate. Under 8s playing under 9s. Really good. Really good for the lads to get away. He had his birthday out there as well, so he had his birthday with his mates. Not good for my bank balance, but yeah, we had a good time.
Good stuff. And Archie played well?
Yeah, really well. Started off a bit shaky. Was trying a bit too hard. And then the second day, his coaches had a word and we just kept it simple and played pretty much all 3 games. Played the whole of the final, which was good. Played really well.
I think that was the advice that every manager has given you over the years, Jim, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's finally a McCarthy listened.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, those are the days. Tank, how are you, mate? You okay?
I'm good, mate. Just chilling, mate. Chilling. Getting very jealous. My daughter's in Thailand at the minute, sending some unbelievable pictures back of her hotel and what she's doing. Absolutely incredible, the place she's at.
No way. Is she just gone there on a trip? It's just a holiday for her, is it?
And a boyfriend, to be fair, mate. She's took a year out of uni. She set up her own little business and she's took herself, she's had a good year with it. And she's took herself off to Thailand for 23 days, I think.
Oh, fair play to her. Do you know, that's probably one of the things I regret the most about growing up. I never really did the whole traveling thing. I was either playing footy or I was with a girlfriend who said, if you go traveling, we'll be finished, or, some shite like that. And I never did it. I think I should have done, so fair play.
Can I just interrupt you there, mate? You've just said about growing up. I don't think you have. You've just been telling us about your panels and your vets. Right?
Yeah.
I'm getting sent off, so I don't think you have grew up yet, mate.
No.
Yeah, to be fair, I've had a mad weekend. I got sent off on playing football on Saturday. It was not my fault. It's never my fault.
There you go.
Never my fault. And then we've had an interesting week.
Yeah, leave it.
Yeah, I will leave it there. Just fence panels. We'll just say fence panels. That's it. So moving swiftly on. Tank, I'm going to come to you first because I want to start off with the Nations League. Now, there's been a ridiculous volume of games in the Nations League, which for me and you, as your footballer's head on, who is making decisions to play all these stupid games at the end of a football calendar as busy as the one that's just been?
You've got to wonder, haven't you? I mean, it's absolutely shambolic. I mean, nobody's interested in it either. You've got to be honest, no one's interested. And there's even less interest now. Channel 4's got the subscription as well. I mean, that is one of the worst things I've ever watched in my life, the England national game, and they're switched off. But these games are just an absolute joke. Any chance of just giving these lads who, look, I mean, even going back in my day now, what these lads do in games surpasses anything what we've done. The intensity of games and, the training intensity and everything. It's so much higher now, the level's so much higher. These lads need a break. I've read in the paper today about, Gareth, Southgate and the England bubble bursting. Not at all. I think 99% of that squad are just thinking any chance of this season finishing so I can piss off an holiday and get my legs up and have a rest. It's a shambles. Exactly.
Do you know the thing that I've read, and maybe you can explain it to me, Jim, right? I'm looking at that. Is the Nations League, right? Because I'm not a huge fan of international football. I don't particularly resonate towards England. We've been through this one before. I still want them to do well, don't get me wrong. But I'm looking at these games. Are they not competitive then? Because England played a team against Italy that basically wasn't their full strength. Like, what's the story behind it? Like,
So it is competitive. It's billed as being competitive, but it's a way to do away with international friendlies and such. So, but there's no
glorified friendlies, basically.
It's a glorified friendly. Yeah, there's no relegations. You don't get anything from it. I think you might get some more FIFA standings, but no one, even Kevin De Bruyne came out and said, I don't want to play this. What's the point?
Yeah.
And funny enough, Belgium got knobbed 4-0 by Netherlands after he came out and said that. Watch that game. But if I'm playing now, not even to mention it's a World Cup year which has been moved as well, so the lads are going to get less of a break. It's just they need to do something. 4 games or 3 games or however many games there were in that short space of time. After some lads have played 60, 70 games a year is stupid, ridiculous. I'm not surprised with ball draws.
Did I see something as well, mate? That Kevin De Bruyne is on target to potentially play 95 games or something. 95 games by the time you're projecting out the games that he's due to play, and it's without a break. And like, is there any wonder that players, aren't able to hit peak performance? And then, God forbid, a player drops to a 7 out of 10, and the social media boys are jumping on it. It's just like, it just feels, Tank, like it's a bubble that's going to burst at some point.
It's going to come crashing down soon because, as I say, the intensity what these lads are playing at, are like, especially in the Premier League. Other leagues, I'm not having a pop with other leagues, but the standard and the quality is nowhere near the Premier League. And as you say, if these lads drop to and even an 8 out of 10, some of these top players, it's like he's finished them. But they must be. I mean, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Trent, and players who's in the Liverpool Man City team who played nearly every possible game this season. They must be absolutely flat out on their feet. And as De Bruyne said, I don't want to play in this game. So you've got players who are playing in games you don't want to play in the game, and then you get beat 4-0, and you wonder why they get beat 4-0. You want to be on the beach, have a rest and recoup, charge the batteries. It's a joke.
Yeah, I'm not sure KDB wants to be on a beach with his skin complexion.
So that's spoken like a man with true experience there, Jim, to be fair.
Ginger to ginger, I don't think he wants to be on a beach.
Jim, Tank touched on something there about Southgate's bubble potentially burst, and I'm quite opinionated when it comes to Gareth Southgate. Do you not buy into that then? I kind of feel like the tide is maybe turning a little bit and he's under a bit of pressure.
I think he could be under a little bit of pressure, but I think, you can't really, like Tank says, I don't think you can read into these games. You can only read into how he does in the World Cup, qualifiers, etc. What the biggest criticism I've got of Gareth Southgate is that I don't see him rotating enough. I don't see fringe players getting enough for games. I'd like to see more from Tammy Abraham. Some of the Jared Bowen, I would have liked to see get more game time. I don't think you need to have. I know he wants Kane to break the record, but he doesn't need to play every single game. And what worries me is there's no backup when it comes to World Cups. He doesn't know what his second best team is because he never gives them a chance. So I think his star's on the wane. You hear it a lot. You hear it a lot in the pundits, but I think you can only judge him on tournament football, really.
I don't know. I just look at Southgate and this England squad, and it just seems a mishmash of players with undoubted talent who seem to be playing within themselves, irrespective of competition. I think England have I know everyone says, we've got further in competitions than we have in X amount of managers. I think England should have been winning those tournaments. And I think they didn't win the tournaments because their manager is far too defensive. Like, we should be beating Croatia. Like, these teams, the Italy team were there for the taking. If we were brave and went at them, that was England's best chance to win a major tournament. And I honestly think Southgate shit the bed there, no?
But you've also got to understand is that these lads, it was a relatively young team, relatively young manager. They haven't had that experience in that final, have they? They've not got that that final mentality. So I think they just all panicked, and I think everyone's just kind of shit themselves and sat back and hoped for the best. Which, when you're used to having them finals week, year in, year out, that's when that group of players will know, right, well, last time we did this. So, but you can't, I don't think any international manager can win. You either go gungo and try to win every game 5-0 and get beaten, you're awful. Defend and get to the final of the Euros and you're too defensive. I don't think there's a happy balance at all in international football.
Where do you sit on Southgate, Tank? And the second part of this question is, do you think one of the biggest problems he faces is trying to get the best out of the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, or would you sit on on the defense of Reece James, Kyle Walker, because I actually think both of them are very good at what they do. I think Kyle Walker's pace gets him out of a lot of trouble and the team out of a lot of trouble. I actually think Reece James is a very, very good fullback, very well-rounded. Where do you sit on Southgate and I suppose his ability to get the best out of players?
I've never been a big fan of Southgate, full stop. You know, I think he's got a group of players there who are absolutely outstanding. Probably the best technical group of English football players we've had ever. You know, we always used to, go on in our game that we were always brilliant at like this, that, and the other in the game, but the technicality of the game, we were always, not as good as the other countries. I think now we're right up there with them. For me, he plays too many square pegs and round holes. Why you play Kieran Trippier as a left back? We've got some good left backs. We've got some outstanding young left backs in England. Why not just trust them? I don't think he trusts certain players. Reece James is an outstanding footballer, really is. He's not at the level of Trent Arnold-Phillips, and people can say to me about Trent.
I love the way you get every name wrong, mate. Was that Trent Arnold-Phillips?
Honestly, Trent Arnold.
What we should do for the new season, Jim, is just get Tank to say random players' names.
Shock them with names. Can't even remember the kids' names. But going back to, he's not on the level of Trent Arnold, and that is just a fact. And people say about how Trent gets caught out at Liverpool, in the high line. Yes, he does. But there's a reason he gets caught out, because that's where Jurgen Klopp wants him to be. Jurgen Klopp wants him to be so far high up for Liverpool to create what he creates going forward. Now, if Jurgen Klopp says to Trent Arnold, we don't want you there, we want you to, people wouldn't get over the top. People make too much about Trent Arnold's defensive, incapabilities, and I don't see it. I don't have it. If I've played fullback, and if I was getting asked to play that high up the pitch, I am completely and utterly exposed in behind me, but that's where the manager wants me to be. No player in the world will play that position where Trent Arnold plays high up without a manager say so, because you'd never kick a ball for the manager again. But we've just gone back onto England. I mean, I think I'm with you, Jamie, where yes, we've made the semi-final of the World Cup. Yes, and by the way, in that World Cup, we played every dog and duck team we could possibly have played. We didn't play anyone of any real substance.
Liverpool in the Champions League.
Hey, don't you start that.
Possibly. And then, the Euro, we should never, Italy was not an outstanding team, was it? The very aging team, and, they dealt with us so. But on the other side, I don't think we can judge them on this shit show of the Nations League, neither.
No, I agree.
It's funny you say there about Trent, because I think when you look at Liverpool, I'm very much of the thinking Liverpool's high line, for those that don't watch it that often, they say, oh, Liverpool always get caught out. Liverpool have made a judgment where it's risk reward. We are happy to run the risk of being caught out sometimes by having a high line, because we trust Alisson Becker in 1v1 situations, and he's proved more often than not that is fully justified. He's excellent in 1v1. So Liverpool, while trying to create, will be happy to give away some chances. And I think it's exactly the same with Trent. What he gives going forward, they are happy that, maybe once or twice in a game, he'll get caught out in that zone. And when you think of the likes of Vinicius running the opposite way, who's cheating, staying high and wide and just waiting for that clip, it's a risky strategy, but it's one that Liverpool seem happy to go with. Jim, I want to come to you onto the next topic, right? Because I suppose it's kind of linked to Trent in a way. One thing that has created a lot of stare online at the moment, and you'll give us nice balance here as the non-Liverpool fan between myself and Tank, is the PFA team of the season. And for those listening that maybe haven't seen it, team of the season voted for by fellow professionals. With the PFA, Tank, is it just players or is it managers? Where does it extend to in terms of the voting?
It's just the players. You just get a sheet with 11 and you just pick your best 1 to 11.
Oh, really? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, you just get a sheet like goalkeeper, and you fill the name in. Done. Yeah.
And is there tactical voting? Like, have you known tactical voting from some of the lads who is like, hold on, you definitely know that Ronaldo, for example, would be happy to not put Salah up there. You know what I mean? Something like that.
To be honest with you, mate, I was bottom of the league with Forest and Leicester, so we weren't like competing with them big boys up there. We just used to go, who's like who's ripped the arse out of you the best, and you're like, he destroyed me there. So yeah, but I should imagine at the top end with the big boys. I mean, they used to have that with Messi and Ronaldo, with the Ballon d'Or, and that they'd never vote for each other, which is. But so as far as like the clubs I played for, there was no like tactical voting because none of us were ever in Team of the Year.
For those that haven't seen the team, it was voted Alisson, Becker in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold right back, Van Dijk, Rudiger and Cancelo as a back four, midfield three, De Bruyne, Thiago, Bernardo Silva in midfield, and then up front, Mo Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo and Sadio Mane. Jimmy,
yeah.
Any surprises for you in there? Who could feel particularly hard done by?
Son. I think Heung-min Son I'd be absolutely fuming if I was him. I mean, not that Mane's had a bad season, but he's probably not been where he's been the last couple of seasons, and that's just because he's been, outstanding for a number of years. But Son, just
he can't do much more, to be honest, can he?
I mean, joint top scorer, he gets about 85 assists a year. Everyone loves him, and not that matters. But my point is like how
he's not a prick. People are going to be happy to vote for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He seems dead sound. So if anyone, then I would say Son would have the number one grievance against that team.
Yeah, I think I agree. Tank, I think the other one potentially maybe then is in midfield. I was looking at that. Like, as much as I love Thiago, I was surprised. I think it's fair to say that he got in there. I thought potentially he could be looking at maybe a Rodri. I actually think Rodri was outstanding for City. Who else for you was I suppose a bit of a surprise?
I was surprised that Thiago. I thought Declan Rice should have been in there.
Yeah, Declan Rice. Forgot about that. Yeah, great show.
He's had an absolutely outstanding season. So Thiago thought was poor the first half.
Oh, don't you start me! You have bumped heads over this loads.
Fair play to him. He was outstanding towards the second half of the season. And I tell you who else. I think both of them are quite lucky to be in the side, and you might be surprised at this. Salah and Mane. Salah was absolutely outstanding for the first half of the season.
Pre AFCON, basically.
Yes, and after that, I mean, I've got to be honest. I think his form for Liverpool the second half of the season after the AFCON was absolutely shocking. Now, Mane before the AFCON, he looked like he couldn't trap a dead rat. He was shocking, and then he come back and he was outstanding. So I think both of them kind of can count themselves lucky to be in. If Son, 110% should be in there. He's been absolutely out of this world. I don't think Ronaldo should be in there.
Oh, come on.
I don't.
That's a bad shout.
Go on.
I don't. Listen, he's a goal scorer. He's always scored goals. Wherever he's been, he's scored goals. He scored lots of goals. And he's in an awful Man United side. I can't remember watching too many games where I thought, wow, Ronaldo was unbelievable there. Unbelievable.
Does he need to be, or does he just need to score?
But we could have the same conversation about Mane and Salah, who I don't think should have been in it as well. Both of them, Salah scored more goals than Ronaldo. Mane must have been around about level with Ronaldo or more. And I don't think either of them should be in the side. I don't see what Ronaldo's warranted to be in that side. I'd have Kane ahead of Ronaldo. I think Kane's had an outstanding season in a different type of role, a more, he's like the assist king, Kane, and he's sometimes you watch Kane, you're like, he's unplayable. I don't think you've seen one game with Ronaldo where you thought he was absolutely phenomenal. He scored last-minute goals, last-ditch goals, important goals. Yeah, I've not watched him and thought he's unbelievable in today.
I think I flip-flopped on Ronaldo a bit. I think when he signed, I was very vocal. I didn't think Man United need him. I still don't think Man United need him, to be honest. I thought they had bigger problems. I thought he made them more disjointed. And it's nearly like the Lukaku syndrome with Everton and Chelsea. You have to funnel everything through him if you want to get the best out of them. And then I kind of looked at it at the bigger picture at the end of the season. And I think it's more to do with context. And maybe this is where I suppose the disagreements come. At his age, playing in an awful Manchester United team that don't create a huge amount of chances. I just
don't think he didn't play that many matches either.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. He scored to score that volume of goals kind of like with the Ibrahimovic type thing when he came. He just scored goals, and I think at this stage that's probably all you're going to get from Cristiano Ronaldo, given his age, is he'll be in the right place at the right time, and he'll score the goals. Who would your front three have been then, Tank? Just before we move back to Jimmy,
I'd have Son and Kane in. I'll be honest with you, I'd have Son and Kane in that
with
side.
Salah.
With Salah, probably Salah, just because of the sheer numbers. But sometimes you watch Tottenham with Son and Kane, and you're like,
they're onto something with them,
absolutely out of this world. I mean, Kane's playing a different type of, number 9, where he's dropping deep, and some of his through balls to Son and his assists are outstanding, but he's still scoring goals. Now, for me, that warrants Team of the Year. Team of the Year is not someone who you just say, I'm going to put him in because he's in the right place at the right time, but there's absolutely nothing else. And listen, Ronaldo's one of the greatest players that's ever played football, bar none. I'm not doubting that. But for me, personally, he should be nowhere near the Team of the Year. Team of the Year for me is someone who you go, he's been outstanding all season, or he's done this, or he's done that. That's just, my opinion on that.
Did you play against Ronaldo? It must have been towards the end of your career. Did the two parallel that they cross over?
Yeah, played against him a few times for Leicester. Yeah, me and Ben Thatcher took times to get a booking, and then he went over the other side. Thank God.
Jesus, Cristiano Ronaldo coming up against you two. Who got him first, you or Ben Thatcher?
Well, listen, he was funny because I played left back. He was left-sided centre half snatch, and he's round the bend. And he's just like, I'll get him first, son. You get him second. So he's gone through him, and then I've gone through him, and then Alex Ferguson went swap. So he's put Giggs that side, and Giggs televised us. Like,
really? Jesus, imagine that getting Cristiano Ronaldo moved, and then Ryan Giggs comes in his place. Jesus Christ, Jim. When you, I suppose, you look at this, right? It's voted for by the professionals, the players, your peers. As any player, if you're getting an award that's voted for by fellow players, it's the ones that mean the most. There was one player who did not take too well to the results of this team, to put it lightly, and that's Laporte from Man City. Now, I have to give my 2 pence. Actually, no, go on. You go first, right? It's not about me. It's about your opinions, right?
Yeah.
It was a strange reaction. And for those that haven't seen it, he went on not a tirade at all, but he posted up a lot of things on Instagram, basically stats of how he'd done so well this season. And then I think his tweet was along the lines of, if that Mourinho gif, if I speak, I get in trouble, with some googly eyes. So we all know what he's saying. He believes he should have been voted in that team. Where do you stand on that, Jim? You do something like that.
Would I?
Probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. And I think most people would. I think we're in the age of social media now. So I think if you're in that sort of elite level, and I know Tank said he didn't vote tactically, but it will be all tactical votes. I mean, there's tactical voting in my under-8s team for parents, players, never mind bloody Premier League teams. I think he could have a right to be aggrieved as well, but I think there's ways and means, and he's just frustrated. He's just annoyed, and he's now got a voice on social media, but isn't that what we want players to be? You don't want their social media teams to be running it. That's surely we want to see him being annoyed and how that reacts. We shouldn't lambast him for it. We should, praise him for his honesty. He's pissed off, and he wants everyone to know he's pissed off. Whereas in the past, it would have been, just gone by the way, and no one would have heard anything, and you move on to next season. So I'm actually pleased that he's showing his human side, and being honest about being annoyed. He's played for the league champions.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Rudiger's been awful since he moved to Madrid. Transpired.
Oh, I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure he's been awful.
He was not awful either. Maybe awful's harsh, but he was certainly much better up until the point where he knew he was going. And then Chelsea.
I think Chelsea fell off though.
Yeah,
they fell off.
Chelsea as a team were bad, which in turns falls onto Rudiger. But Chelsea was second, fell down to third. Luckily, everyone else was bad. If the season might have been 10 games longer, they could have fell out the top 4. So I think, and you got Laporte, who's playing regularly for the league champions. He's not playing bad, is he? If he's playing regularly, so.
Where are you on this, Tank? Before I throw my 2 pence into the ring,
I don't even think he's in the top 5 centre half this season, Laporte. I'll be brutally honest with you. I think Diaz is better ahead of him. Diaz is a better player than Laporte. Rudiger's absolutely outstanding. Like, I think he's been outstanding for Chelsea. Every time that we've played against him, he's had Mo Salah in his pocket. Like,
he's like a throwback centre back. He's like a big horrible dog. Yeah,
he'll fight you. He's rapid, so you can't run him. He'll kick you. If you want to go toe-to-toe with him, he'll go toe-to-toe. He'll head it. He'll clear it. If you need to smash it 25 rows back, he'll do it. You can play. I think he's an outstanding centre-half. You don't get a move to Real Madrid if you're not an outstanding centre-half. For me, as a whole season, he was another way. Listen, he was an outstanding centre-half. I tell you what, in his pomp, he was some player. I just think he was outstanding. Yeah, he's dipped off when he was getting his move to Real Madrid, but are you going to stick your neck on the line? I'm saying he's dipped off. I thought he was outstanding against Liverpool in the cup finals.
No, and I agree. So, like I said, I think, as you say, it's team of the season, isn't it? And this is where you're saying Salah might be lucky because but at the start of the season, he was unbelievable. And that's what I like about Salah being included. Because whereas Thiago, I think, got in because he played one decent game against Man United.
I'll give over, Jim. Jesus Christ! Don't get. We moved past Thiago.
I'm with you.
Tank's happy here. We have butted heads about Thiago. Like, look, Thiago is. Don't get me started, right?
No, leave it.
Thiago's a great player. My point is, he's been included in that because he had 4 or 5.
It's probably a bit of recency bias, I think.
Yeah,
with Thiago.
Salah's been included.
Rudiger's probably had. Yeah, but I think he's only had maybe a month where he was like not quite at it. I think for the 9 months prior to that, he was absolutely outstanding. But I'd have Diaz. I think Diaz is ahead of Laporte. Laporte's just that he's all right, Laporte.
Yeah,
you know, if kicked off, Tank, if you thought you should have been in the team in the season, and you could have vented publicly.
He kicks off at anything, Tank.
Listen. I got kicked off Twitter because I seen Boris Johnson waving from a plane. So I kick off on anything I kick off on. But no, listen, I can understand his frustration. He's a good centre-half. I think there's at least 4 or 5 who's better than him.
Yeah, I'm ever thinking with this where I actually agree with. I didn't come into this conversation thinking I'd agree with you on that one, Jim, because I wasn't expecting that angle. But I think you make a good point. We're always moaning at players for giving stock shite answers in the press. It becomes boring, monotonous. We want them to show a human side. So yeah, I think you probably got a point there, Jim. It's actually good to see that he cares. I just personally would be of the thinking, keep your head down, mate. Go do your job and get in. Use it as fuel.
Change it though, is he's not going to go into next season.
Yeah, but it feeds into this narrative that I personally think City are a little fragile. They've got a bit of an inferiority complex.
City, really.
I honestly
it's a player who thinks he's had a good season, won the league, and thinks he should be in team of the season. That's what I don't. I think you're taking 2 and 2 and getting 6, mate.
No, but if you look at Diaz, like Tank made the comment there about Diaz. If Laporte's giving it the big one there, I'd be more inclined to say, well, hold on, some of my teammates should be getting on as well. I wouldn't hold myself in that high esteem to be like, I demand that my fellow professionals vote me in this team. Even if you think it, keep your head down. Like Mo Salah, for example, keeps his head down, driven to go and get the next award, whatever, keeps his focus. Let you talk and be done on the pitch. I don't know. I felt the tone of it just screams a little bit of Man City. It's everyone against us type thing. And I think that comes from the manager. I don't know. I think say less, do more on the pitch is probably where I sit on that one. You don't agree, Jim?
50-50, mate. I agree with you. I get what you're saying, totally. But I just think he's just making his point. And the points he can make are with numbers. And that's what he's doing. So I think, I get it. If you want to be in the team scene, I also get where you're thinking because I think it would happen. I think as a player, if I'm playing for Villa and City have absolutely blitzed us, I'm not voting for them. I'll vote for my mates. So, but we don't know what goes on in these votings. If I'm in that team and I feel like I should be in the team and I'm not, I've got stats to prove it, I'm going to make sure that people are aware of it. Whether that screams, look at us or, woe is me. I don't care because the stats are the stats.
Tank, I'm going to come to you on transfers. Right, we're going to finish off on a bit of transfer talk. Obviously, two big transfers that have been done by the two top teams. It looks announced today that obviously it's no secret Haaland has joined Manchester City, and it looks like Liverpool have now secured the signing of Nunez from Benfica for roughly, I think the initial fee was around 64 million. You're looking at the best part of 20 million add-ons based on performance. Good value for money. Are you impressed with that sign, and what's your initial reaction?
Of Nunez, yeah, I think it's a very good sign. You know, you got to look at his age, how much he's got development and growth in him. Obviously he's a goal scorer. He scored a couple of goals against us. He looked lively against us. My only gripe is when I was watching him, I was kind of like, you know, I found myself saying, just stay on your fucking feet, man. He was rolling around and hopefully that gets knocked out of him, because that's a pet, you know, it's a pet hate of mine. But as an all-round, I've seen a stat of Chris Sutton, which he bores me, but he actually had a good stat. As the Liverpool-Tottenham game when we drew, which technically could have cost us the league. Liverpool done a Premier League record of 46 crosses into the box. And this lad is exceptional in the air, and that just might be the little tweak what's needed for us just to go that step closer next season.
Yeah, Trent and Robbo will certainly be licking the lips with
he'll be licking his lips as well, by the way. We're getting on the end of them crosses. So I just think, and you know, just on Mane, you know, I think about me and you spoke today, Jamie. I left you a message with saying, if you see a few Liverpool fans saying about Mane, or he's this, that, and the other, I think it's nothing to do with money with Mane. I just think we're getting a 22-year-old with all the potential in the world. Mane's going to be going out. He's given us 6 years incredible service. He's won the lot, and he wants to change. We pay 30 million for him, and it looks like we're going to get 40 million from him. I just think it's great business by Liverpool for a player who wants something to try something different.
I think the thing with Liverpool, and I think I said this to you, Tank, it seems to me, and look, it sounds like Mane has asked for, let's say, 300 grand a week, give or take, right? Bayern are prepared to pay that. Liverpool won't. It seems like Liverpool's business model is not to give out those big last contracts to players unless, you know, particular circumstances. I was surprised Henderson got his at the length that he did. To be honest, not surprised in, obviously, he's great captain and all that, but just not something Liverpool traditionally do. It seems like they've been happy to let Mane go, in the fact that they'll bring in Nunez on a rumored 100 grand a week, so roughly a third of Mane's wages. Is this just a case, Jim, of Liverpool's business model? You know, they're bringing in the next big thing. They seem to like to bring in the next big thing rather than, I suppose, retain or sign those kind of finished articles. What was your reaction to?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it on another podcast that when we talked around the Haaland signing, that I think I said Man United should, but you know, I mentioned Darwin Nunez and being the player that, if anyone wants to try and catch City, to go and get. So I think it's great business. Time will tell on the fee. If you think he's getting 100 grand a week and just paid 85 million for him, then you've got another thing coming, mate. He's definitely going to be on more than 100 grand a week.
Honestly, mate, I think he's rumoured to be on around 100 grand a week.
Yeah.
But it's a 6-year deal, you know what I mean? 6-year deal, big long deal.
But I agree. I think Liverpool do their contracts right. I think, you know, in terms of not handing them massive contracts out. But on the flip side, it can come and bite you on the bum, because it's all well and good buying young players, and you know the famous words, you don't win nothing with kids and all that sort of stuff. But I think sometimes you just need them old heads in the team, and unfortunately, you're gonna have to give these players a contract and maybe chuck in a release clause or something along them lines. Now, you know, could you have kept Mane? You know, someone's going to have to leave. Does that mean I can see Jota moving out to the left, Nunez through the middle, and you're going to lose either? You know, will Firmino go? I don't know. Obviously, I know you're losing Origi as well. So yeah,
I dropped him off the airport at Origi with pleasure. With pleasure.
I don't get how everyone loves him. Diaz, Diaz on the left. Yeah. So Jota's going to obviously drop to the bench. For me, one of them probably going to be off. I would assume Firmino more than
No, I think he'll keep. Honestly think he'll keep them all, Jim. I think he'll probably look at Diaz from the left, Nunez through the middle, Salah from the right, and then you have Firmino and Jota as the replacements, give or take the opposition. I also think they've got a couple of young lads. People are sleeping on you, lad. The lad they signed from Fulham, Carvalho.
Listen,
I am his biggest fan.
He is special.
But he's going to want to play regular, isn't he? So I can see him going out on loan, and I can.
No, I honestly, I think he'll surprise you, mate. I think that advanced midfield role. I think you might see him a bit of a Coutinho-esque type role for him. I think he'll surprise you with the amount of minutes he gets.
He won't go out on loan. 110%. He won't go out on loan. He'll play a significant part this season for Liverpool. I've watched them at Fulham. The kid is serious.
He's great, mate. He's a great player. I get that. Well, I think when most of these young lads come in, I think they'll get minutes early doors, and then if he doesn't set the world alight, Premier League and all that, I think then they will start thinking around, how do we get him more game time? So I think it could be on the cards. Look, you've got in a bigger squad. Yeah, you might be losing Mane, but you've got to keep more big players happy now. It's going to be difficult for Klopp. Luckily, you've got loads of games, so that's just my thoughts on it. I think Nunez will do really well. What you don't want in your camp is unrest.
Lads, Tank has 4% battery, so before he dies and leaves us, right, or goes to attack the 2%, right? I'll keep it quick, right? Early predictions, because there's a narrative building. We've got Haaland versus Nunez seems to be the narrative. One word answer: who scores more goals next season, Haaland or Nunez? And I'll come to you first, Jim.
Haaland.
Tank.
Nunez. Haaland. Yeah. He misses 50% of the season through injury. Haaland. So.
Okay, for what it's worth,
get it written down.
For what it's worth, I think Salah beats the both of them. So we'll.
That's without shadow of a doubt. That's a given.
The host privileges there. I get to throw in a googly at the end, right, lads? Before Tank goes, great to have you both back on. It's been a while. You'll both be back with us next week, yeah?
We will.
Yes, mate.
Look forward to it. Right, everybody. Fully charged. No gardeners cutting down wires or anything like that. We're back with
everyone pray for Tank's wife.
Wife. Yeah. Right. That's enough from us. Everybody, thank you for listening. If you don't mind, if you've either listened on a podcast or you've watched on YouTube, if you could quickly subscribe or leave us some type of comment or feedback, it'll be massively appreciated by all of us, and it helps the podcast get noticed by new people. So if you could, that would be fantastic. So with that, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourselves, and we will be back with you next week on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Cheers, pal.